All right, 5, 4.
Another edition of our Six Dorans show. My name is Jacob Sminted Sanders, and I'm followed by Jamie Selceus Christensen.
What up?
And Tanner Blitzerama Brelje.
Hello.
Repping his Team Liquid shirt.
Yeah, true.
You gotta rep his boys. They
After
went 2-0.
a week to be proud
I mean,
of.
they're tied for first, so.
That's true.
Well, yeah, they went 2-0. You always gotta rep your team after you win, right?
That's true. Although, then again, if you're not tied for first right now in the LCS, are you even an LCS team?
Damn. Well, that's kind of true, considering how a lot of the LCS teams are 4-2. 6 of them, to be specific. But, LCS is not what we're here to talk about at this moment in time. We always start with the LEC. So, why don't we start with the LEC first?
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. All right, so what's going on in the LEC? Well, Vitality died, apparently.
Yep.
Because they are 0-4.
Vitality sucks. Unfortunately, we were wrong about Excel. They also suck.
Mm-hmm.
Fnatic and
God.
G2 are the best teams in the
Big F.
region, like we thought, and everybody else is right there in the middle.
Okay, so here's what's going on with Europe right now. The same thing that happens every year. There's like an established 1 or 2 teams. There's an established bottom 2, and then everything else in the middle is just kind of fucked, right? Typical of EU. But as we said, Excel and Vitality are at the bottom. G2 and Fnatic are at the top. Can't wait for their matchup. But,
This week.
But in the middle, we got SK, Origin, Rogue, Misfits, Shulka, and Splice, all just kind of sitting there in the middle of the pack, and we have no idea what's going to happen yet. It's only week 2, but there's a lot to dig into here, and I think there's a lot to also be found out. I think for sure G2 is obviously our best team here in Europe. As we said last week, probably the world. But I don't know.
They even had a difficult game this week, though.
It's hard to feel like any team but G2 is going to win the split. That's just kind of what it feels like.
I think everybody on this show agrees.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've looked absolutely phenomenal so far. I think, obviously, their only test this season is going to be Fnatic, which we'll see next week. But if they handle that with any level of confidence, I just don't see them. I mean, outside of a major slip, they might not even drop a game this season. I mean, we might be looking at, Fnatic and Immortals of past, where, a perfect season is something that we might flirt with. So,
yeah. I will say SK, though, did give them a hard time, at least in the early game of their match this week. In fact, they did a really good job of coming in and especially keeping Wonder down. They were well ahead for a good amount of the game, and I will also say that this entire weekend was not Cap's best performance. I felt that he actually at times was more of a detriment to his team than he was an asset. But that just shows the collective talent on this team, especially individually.
yeah.
Because they were obviously able to still go 2-0.
For sure.
I've got an extremely important question for you guys.
Okay.
But this is actually really important. More important than Worlds.
Okay.
All right.
So after this weekend, we're taking a break from the LEC and LCS. We should totally give away what I'm about to talk about. How nervous are we for 9 days from now when Europe fucking destroys NA at Rift Rivals? Simply because G2 and Fnatic are in Europe.
I'm not. I'm not worried about it.
It's not really something that I'm too worried about either, because at the end of the day, if NA loses out to EU this year, which I'm assuming they will, I would predict that. It's not like anybody's expecting anything different this year. Like, you guys.
I don't think so, because in both the Euphoria and the Dive podcast, Euphoria's been hyping up Rift Rivals, and the Dive's been hyping up Rift Rivals, and I think that's simply because both these regions made finals in MSI, and both regions are feeling themselves. I think a lot of the NA fans are going to think we made finals, we need to avenge our 3-0 loss. Team Liquid's probably going to feel that too, and this is a legitimate chance to where, like, in the past, it was kind of like, oh, just NA versus EU, no one cares. No, this is a legitimate, these are two strong regions, possibly, two of the strongest. I mean, China's still there, but like two of the strongest regions in the world. We're going to see who's stronger, and this is practice for Worlds.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up too, because like that was something that I was thinking is, even though me personally, I'm not too interested in the result, I am going to be interested in the tournament as a whole this time, because like you said, in the past, it has kind of felt like they haven't been taking it as seriously as they could have. We could get a lot of really great games out of this kind of tournament, and it just doesn't seem to live up to the potential. But this year, like you said, on the Dive, on Euphoria, they're hyping this thing up, and I'm sure the hype is getting to all the NA and EU teams. So to see an actual, like, legitimately great tournament out of Rift Rivals this year would be phenomenal. So again, I wouldn't be disappointed if it ends up stacking like Fnatic and G2 over Team Liquid. I'd like to see the opposite, obviously, but I think we're going to see a lot more competitive games this time around, and that might just also be attributed to the fact that NA just looks a lot better this year. So hopefully we get something good out of it. But I'm definitely excited for it. But results-wise, I wouldn't be too down about it.
Yeah, because after this weekend, I was just kind of like, Rift Rivals might suck. Because I think the thing that would be embarrassing is if NA actually went in and actually wanted to try hard this time around. They said, we're actually going to try hard. This is something legitimate now. And then they just get smashed. Then it's like, oh, well, nothing changed from MSI at all.
So, I guess I think G2 is still the heavy favorite. So, like, I think that EU overall has the edge because they have the best team. Even though Fnatic has looked good in EU, I don't necessarily think that they're so much better than the talent from NA that they won't be able, that they could still lose a game to the likes of Team Liquid or TSM or C9. Like, we're sending 3 very strong teams to this. So that's why I'm not worried about it. And then, like you guys were talking about, so I think beyond the fact, beyond the MSI performance and the fact that these are the 2 regions that were in finals, and beyond, like, I guess the excitement of what we've been seeing in these 2 regions, I think that actually what's probably making this Rift Rivals the most serious is how well received China, Korea, and the LMS, is that the other region?
It's actually 4 regions. It's Korea, China, LMS, and Vietnam.
Okay, so but like that Rift Rivals from last year and how well received it was, and how seriously those teams took it. And like, even though some people don't really watch those regions from NA and EU, like, we don't pay that much attention to those regions. We see like some highlights and we see the results and stuff. But like, I actually watched some of that because of how awesome it was. I think that because of how successful that was, you're going to see Rift Rivals just going forward be much more, like, people are going to take it much more serious. So I'm very excited to see this Rift Rivals. I hope I'm not disappointed, and I hope you're not right.
I hope I'm not either.
That EU just comes in and stomps all 3 of our teams, because I definitely think that G2 can, but I don't know. I think that we're sending 3 very powerful teams that have some uniqueness in their play styles as well that could take games off of even all three of the EU representatives, and that's including G2. I think that they could lose a game at Rift Rivals.
Gotcha. So the funny thing is they talked about on the dive is they pretty much accepted that G2 was going to go 6-0. They were like, G2 is going to go 2-0 versus TSM, 2-0 versus Liquid, 2-0 versus Cloud9, right? They're like, but that doesn't matter because as long as we beat Fnatic and Origin, we can win Rift Rivals. So like in like Kobe's and I think it wasn't Freak at this one. It was Kobe, Zale, and
was it Mark Z?
No, it was the Oceania guy.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I forget his name though. As soon as I see,
not Captain Flowers.
As soon as I see his name, I'll know it. But
I
anyway,
want to say Panda, but I think that's wrong too.
Nope, that's not it. Anyways, they actually had some very cool insight on the new patch and the way teams are going. But that's not the point. The point is though, they're like, this is how we win. We just beat Fnatic and Origin. Just give G2 the games. Doesn't matter. Don't even play them. He's like, just forfeit them. It was pretty funny, but
oh, that's funny.
Oh my god. Anyway, so I just wanted to ask about Rift Rivals because that is what we will be talking about next weekend. So
there's a little preview.
Yeah, I do look forward to Rift Rivals though. I'm a little scared about it, but I do look forward to it. And I think it is in NA this year. I believe it's in NA this year. Yeah, because it was in EU last year. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Rift Rivals location. I'm gonna type it in right now just to make sure I'm
All
sure.
Right, while you do that.
Yep, it's in Los Angeles. We're good. Anyway, let's get on to Europe though. I just wanted to ask about that real quickly, since we were on the topic of like Europe, our two top European teams. Is there any like read you guys have on these middling teams like SK, Origin, Rogue, Misfits, Schalke? Because like I have none.
I think Schalke and Origin are your like 3-4 teams right now. That's the take I would have. I felt like they played the most cleanly through these 4 games so far. I feel like the competition that they've played against has shown that they are going to be able to continue that throughout at least the next few weeks. The thing with these teams is that, you know, they're not Fnatic and G2, so I can also see a world where something happens with the meta or like a champion change or an item change that could like really throw them off. It's kind of like a comfort thing right now, but if things continue the way that they are, I like what I've seen from them, and I would have to say that I think that they're kind of your 3-4 teams. Misfits, Rogue, SK, and Splice. Splice was the team that I think we all had up in that like top 4 range. I would say that I've moved them just out of that area. Misfits, I would say, is right there with Splice in my opinion. Even though they have, you know, won 2 of their games, I haven't been like overly impressed, I guess, with their wins. And then I guess my like wild cards still are Rogue and SK. Like, I don't know if we've seen enough to make a complete judgment on them since they are still fairly new.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think I agree with you on Origin. I don't think we've seen enough of Origin to knock them out of a top 4 spot yet.
And their 2 losses are Fnatic.
Right. So they're against the top teams. They could easily be 4-0 if the schedule shaped up a different way. So you know, I'm not fretting for Origin. You know, they're right where they need to be if they are the 3rd place team. It makes perfect sense. So I've liked the way that they've played. I've been pleasantly surprised with Schalke. I think obviously all of us kind of had them as in the lower part of the bracket.
Yeah, they were my 10th place squad
entering this season. Yeah, and you know, based on some of their performance towards the latter half of last season, I guess that wouldn't make sense. But it seems like they've really shaken that off, which is kind of impressive. To just kind of completely revert from your old ways is definitely an impressive feat. Man, you know, I'm also pleasantly surprised by SK. This is kind of the similar SK that we got in the beginning of last season, where, this was the team that was able to rock a few of the, top teams. And obviously Fnatic had that horrible slide to start the season, but SK just looks like, they're more put together. They look like their communication's a lot better than it was last season. They're making a lot better team play, and Selfmade continues to be, probably one of the best up-and-coming talents in Europe, because he's still just absolutely dominant in the jungle when he needs to be. So that's really good. I wanted to point out too that Misfits. I'm erring really hard on the name here, but Misfits had a new starting jungler this week.
Yeah,
and he absolutely impressed me. Like, obviously it was against XL, but he drops in on the Kindred pick, and again I can't remember his name perfectly, but drops in with the Kindred pick, goes 7-1 with 2 assists. Like, that is impressive beyond all belief.
Actually, are you talking about Kire?
Yeah, Kire. There we go. Yeah, so I was very thoroughly impressed with him. I think he makes a great addition to this new Misfits squad. And on top of the fact that I think Misfits might be, I want to see more of them, but I'm kind of leaning towards Misfits maybe being the 4th, 5th team jockeying up in there. Obviously, on paper, this is a squad that we've been talking about for a long time that is, it seems like they're the complete package. And obviously last season they kind of fell apart, nowhere near as bad as, some other teams, but it just didn't feel like it's coming together. But now, with this addition, their wins have been convincing. So I want to see how they do against, some of the top talents, a couple more games maybe against like Splice and even Rogue, I suppose, which has also been a really nice surprise. I guess overall, like, middle of the pack, it's pretty hard to tell, but I think the only surefire things we can say about LEC, like we said before the show, is Vitality and XL are not good. They are just.
I'm surprised you don't recognize Kire's name.
I don't. What's
No?
So no, I'm drawing a blank. I don't either.
I'm drawing a blank.
So here's the history on him. Back in, I would say, 3 years ago, when G2 was getting into EU. So in other words, when they were had to go through relegations to get into EU, they were not known as G2. They were known as Gamers 2. That was their original name. They had like a G that looked like
Ocelot absolutely hates when you refer to them as that.
Yep. The G looked like a Gatorade G, and then it had a 2 right next to it. It was Gamers 2.
Actually.
Kire was the jungler of that team, of that EU Academy team that helped get G2 into the LEC, and then Ocelot threw the entire roster away and bought out a better
trick.
He threw the entire roster away except for Perks, if I remember correctly. I think that if I remember correctly, he just kept Perks only. He bought the bot lane, which was Ven and Mithy. And then I forget the top laner he bought. I forget. Oh yeah, the Korean guy. But yeah, he basically just bought an entire team. Said Perks is the only good player. He basically told the entire Academy team, "Look, Perks is the only one staying." Bye. So after that happened, Kire moved to Team Dignitas in Team Dignitas's last split, and Kire was part of the team that the Dignitas team that got relegated.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
So, okay, that makes sense, because when you said that, it definitely was setting off some sparks. But
and then Kire was on 1907 Fenerbahce last year.
Okay.
Yep. So that's weird.
I would agree though that he looked good, and I was muted. I was gonna chime in when you were talking about SK. We pointed out OG's only losses are to Fnatic and G2. Same for SK. The only losses that they've had are against those two teams, and they actually beat Schalke. So you might have to throw them up there in the mix, from what I was saying as well. Sanders, do you have any opinions? Maybe.
Oh, did you say Sanders? I thought you said
it cut out a little bit, but yeah, I think you said Sanders.
Yeah, I thought you said Tanner, not Sanders. Honestly, if I had to pick outside of like Origin, I'm excluding Origin out of this because they lost to Fnatic and G2. If I had to pick two teams, I'd probably pick Misfits and Splice at the moment. I do recognize that Splice actually just lost to Schalke. but it's also Schalke. I want more from Schalke before I buy a win from them, even though it is over Splice. I just so many years. There's so many years of buying into Schalke and then they're not doing anything and then missing the playoffs or getting sixth place and then ultimately failing and not buying it. I'm done of buying into Schalke like I have almost every year. Can't do it anymore. So,
yeah, that's fair. That's kind of where I'm at with Misfits.
And then if I had to give a sixth place, I mean at least Misfits fucking has gone to quarterfinals of Worlds.
Well, right, but that's like saying going back to the H2K run and saying that at least they did that. They also were not a great team. They just happened to be successful at one tournament.
I mean, but the bad H2K didn't have anybody from that roster. Didn't have Forgiven, didn't have Yankos, didn't have Ryu, didn't have, I think it was Odo, yeah, it was Ono Omne. I forget who the bot laner was. Vander. They didn't have Vander. Right? They had nobody from that team. Whereas, this Misfits team at least has Onsama and Alfari.
Right. But I don't know. They've also been very successsul in the regular split and fallen off
they died
real hard.
Died. Died.
Okay, it was a big enough cliff that they fell off that they died.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you know what though? It's kind of sad. When I look at EU, I'm just yeah, this is Fnatic versus G2. It is what it is, right? I feel like this is just a battle for who can be the final boss of the gauntlet.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what this split is. Now the teams aren't going to think that way. They're all going to think they have a chance at first, but realistically, this is a battle for first place in the gauntlet, right? It's a battle for I want to be the last team in the gauntlet, and I only want to play one best of 5 to get in.
Have we heard anything? I guess this is probably a discussion for later, but I guess quick yes or no. Have we heard anything? Are they keeping the same format as what they did this last time?
As of the announcement for Worlds a few months ago, yes.
Okay.
So, unless they announce a change later, but I think the Gauntlet's a great format, actually. I think it's
I liked it a lot.
I like it that Korea actually uses it as their playoff format. I think that's pretty cool. First place team gets to play semifinals, second place team plays quarterfinals, and then the other teams all just play each other. I think that's a brilliant format. You reward first place by making them the final boss, and so on and so forth. So, is there anything we have on EU?
Yes, any specific games that we wanted to touch on?
I mean,
I think the games were pretty boring for the most part this week, but that's just me.
Yeah, I didn't have too much specifically to touch on. I thought, to touch on the fact that XL and Vitality aren't doing too well, I thought XL was going to play a lot better this week since Mickey was actually on the roster here, and obviously there might just be still some growing pains that need to go through. The roster has shifted quite heavily, but if you look at somebody like Rogue, their roster shifted quite heavily and they look really great. So it's a little disheartening to see that. I'm not sure if it's the end of the line for them. But Mickey didn't have the best game, and obviously against Misfits, it was going to be hard for them to win regardless since, their jungler just went on an absolute tear. But that was kind of a little disheartening to see. Outside of that, though, like you said earlier, G2 and Fnatic kind of just rolled through their games, so I don't really have anything besides that.
Speaking of G2, I do want to mention this. So in G2 versus Vitality, Perks played Pike.
Yep.
So Perks, Caps, Wonder, and Mickey X have all played Pike at some point. So if Pike is ever picked, you have no idea where it's going.
What was really funny is during that game, the analysts said, they're like, give me a list of the top 10 Pike players in EU and tell me why 4 of the top 5 are on G2.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
right? Like Yankos is the only one not playing it, and I'm sure at some point they might have him pull it out. Where like they're doing a funnel comp with Perks and Mickey in the mid lane, and Capson Yankos will be in the bot lane where Yankos is playing Pike support and Caps will play like some stupid ass mage in the bot lane.
I don't put it past them.
I don't doubt it, right?
In fact,
I don't doubt it.
Since they've been able to pull it off with 4, they're probably formulating a plan, just like you said, to like get that 5th person so they can have that on their tool belt as well.
And
just
you know
be like, this is something we can do that nobody else can do.
And you know what's funny is Pike isn't broken. It's just G2 Pike is broken.
Yeah, they're just really good at playing around him. So
yeah, so yeah, that is something I did want to mention. We have 4 players who can play.
That was probably the best game that Vitality's played so far this split.
Sadly, they didn't win it.
Nope, because they saved it for the hardest opponent. And they also did it the day after they had probably their worst game, which was against Rogue. And if you remember some specific plays there, oh my god, that game just was like, what is his name? What is the announcer's name? Who he introduced Worlds or
Quick shot.
No, it's kind of Riv, but Rivington's in a quick shot.
Betty.
You're right. Quick shot.
Okay.
Quick shot was like just banging his head against the desk because he was so confused. Like,
they had that dive on Prophet that just turned into an absolute shit show.
It started in the bot lane because Rogue was playing Sona Taric or Sona Tom Kench. I don't remember. Okay. Sona was part of it, and they were able to get a kill on Attila. And he's like, what is happening? And then the top lane shenanigans started, and they tried to dive the top laner once. They actually killed him, but he was able to get a return kill. And then the second time they tried to dive him with 3 people, and he didn't die and got 2 kills from it.
I just love Quick Shot. He's like, what are you doing?
How do you mess this up?
Literally flaming Vitality. He did not have a good casting day.
I thought it was great.
Because it was very honest. Because it's just like, I mean, when you watch a team like Vitality, which is such a legacy team for the LEC, just crumble like that, I mean, it's got to throw up so many like red flags and question marks in your head. So I completely understand where he's coming from, though.
I don't mean like a bad casting games and he did a poor job casting. I mean like
he had bad games to watch.
Yeah, watching bad League of Legends.
That's fair.
It feels bad, man. It's like you come home and you have a couple of beers. Your wife's like, "What'd you do today, honey?" "Oh, I watched some terrible League of Legends today." What's funny is his wife is actually the esports manager for Misfits. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, she used to be Riot's esports manager, and then she left Riot and went to Misfits. So, yeah, I mean, that's some goals right there. To be a caster and your wife is an esports manager for a team, hell yeah.
Sounds pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing to me too.
Should we get into some picks?
Yes, let's do it. So the first game is possibly the hardest game to pick here. It's Excel versus Vitality.
Do we want to cover
I'll let you go first.
Our previous week before we get started, or?
Yeah.
Oh yes, please tell us about the previous week.
We can do that real quick, I guess. All right. So after a quick look, Sanders went 8-2.
Yeet.
For EU, I went 7-3. Blitz went 8-2, and the community went 7-3. So not much ground to be made. But if you look at the overall standings in EU alone, the community is actually one game up on all three of us. 15-5 for the community, and we are all at 14-6. So, boys, we got to do something about that. This is kind of what we do. So we should not lose to the community.
Okay. So Excel versus Vitality is the first one. I'm gonna, I think this one's easy for me. I'm picking Excel. I hate Vitality right now. I hate them. We are playing in a very fast-paced meta. They're supposed to be a very fast-paced team.
I do not have these games apparently in the same order that you do.
Like why? Like why are they not winning games they're supposed to? Like That's how I feel Vitality is. Why are they not winning in a meta they should be? I ain't.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, give me Excel. At least they look okay in their losses.
See, this is a tough one for me though,
Go for it, man.
Yeah, because I mean, Vitality doesn't look good at all, but then Excel still looks like they've got growing pains, and so what do I think has the better likelihood of winning? An Excel team that's still like working on getting themselves together, or a Vitality team that's falling from grace and really needs a win right now? In my head, I'm fairly certain Excel will win, but I'm gonna pick Vitality because
Excel's gonna win now that you did that. You're fucked.
I know, but like I just don't see them screeching to a halt this hard and not like I mean it's Excel. If they can't beat Excel, what's left for Vitality? Well, I mean nothing, obviously, but like you know.
Yeah, this one is very difficult, and so this is going to be my justification for my pick. I am also going to choose Vitality. I don't like it. I want to pick Excel, but both of these teams are 0-4. Vitality has actually had success in the past, and so I'm going to lean on that and say that they have the potential to be that, right? Excel has never really been that good. And I know that they made some changes that like should hopefully improve them down the road, but as of right now, they're not working. So I'm going to take some past experience and past success and say that's the reason for Vitality winning this match. If they do not win this match, they will be like 100 Thieves are to me in NA, and I will pick against them in every single matchup going forward until they win like 4 games in a row and convince me to pick otherwise.
Because here's the thing too, even in their slide, Fnatic beat XL. So, like, if you can't beat XL, even if you're just on a dog shit run, as much as I love XL, like, that says something about your team. So hopefully they don't let themselves steep that low.
I find this to be really funny and amusing. Moving on. Splice versus Rogue. This actually is, I feel like, a tough one to pick too. I really want to pick Rogue here, actually. Like, I really like Splice, I do. But, like, looking at, like, you know, like, previous results, you know, I mean, Splice has beaten both Excel and they've beaten Vitality. Those are the bottom 2, right? Now, Rogue has beaten Excel. Okay, so they've both beaten a similar opponent. And Rogue, Rogue beat Vitality. Wait, this is, like, literally a draw.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you keep going down that path.
Oh boy! Wait, who did? Let's look at this. Who did Splice lose to? Splice lost to Schalke.
G2 and Schalke.
G2, whereas a Rogue lost to Misfits
and SK.
And that sounds like a Splice pick right there. That's what that sounds like. Yeah, based on match history, I'm going Splice. Wow.
I think I'm also going Splice. That was just the initial thing that popped into my head. I'm pretty sure I had them picked higher in my preseason rankings, and like Sanders just went over, the previous record kind of points me towards Splice as well.
Yeah, and for me, you know, Splice took a pretty surprising loss, in my opinion, to Schalke this last weekend in a game that went very late, and they still just couldn't pull it off. I think that's an anomaly, though. I think, you know, against a team like Rogue, who obviously is still kind of spinning the wheels and looking really good doing it, but, you know, Splice, they're the veteran team, and also based on their match history, I think they'll take it.
All right, so the third matchup is Schalke versus Origin. I think this is pretty easy for me. I'm taking Origin. They look like they haven't missed a beat. I mean, sure, they're 2-2, but they lost to Fnatic and G2. Like, whatever.
I think this is probably going to be, I guess, the second most anticipated game of the day. because like I said, I have these two teams kind of as my in my 3 through 5 range. Even though they're tied with 4 other teams in the middle of the pack. But I'm also going to go with Origin. I've liked what I've seen from them. They played a really good game against Fnatic too, even though they lost, and so I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, I'll pick Origin too. I mean, again, presumptively, I think they should be the 3rd place team, and so on that notion, I don't think they should lose to Schalke.
Oh boy, I don't know why I'm yawning. Maybe it's because I got up at 3:30 this morning.
that
yeah,
could have something
sounds
to do
like
with
a pretty
good. All right, next one is Misfits versus SK. Tanner just finished up, so Jamie, you take this one.
All right. Well, so I guess again, based off of what I was saying earlier, where I have these two teams, I think that this is also going this whole first day is very hard to pick. I guess minus the next match because I'm pretty sure we're all sweeping, even though it should be hard to pick. SK and Misfits. I don't think I'm giving SK enough credit from what I just said about their record. The only 2 teams them losing to is Fnatic and G2, and they actually have a win against Schalke, who I have up there. And I think because of that, I'm gonna pick SK this game. I don't know who wants to go next, but
I'll go next. I guess. No. I can't go next because Tanner's going first on the next one. Okay. So Tanner, you go next.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, I really liked what I saw out of Misfits last week, and both of these teams again have the distinction of, being in the hey, we lost to Fnatic and G2 club. So they could be very dead even for all I know. But this game is going to be a really good determining factor to see where they are. I'm leaning towards Misfits because with their new jungler and with how they were playing last week and kind of the momentum that they can kind of gain from that, I think they have a good chance of beating SK. It'll be close, though.
Just so you know, though, Misfits that lost to Origin, not G2.
Oh, sorry. Well, top team still.
Still a top team.
I'm leaning towards Misfits as well, but I think I'm not looking at history matches here. I'm kind of looking at their rosters right now between the two, and I think I just really like Misfits bot lane. And this is a patch change 9.12, and if you look at the patch changes right now, a lot of the people like Silas. I think Silas determines draft picks a lot. This has to take him out of pro play. He got heavily nerfed. He can't lane anymore is the big problem, which is why I've been playing a lot of Silas jungle lately. He's still OP mid to late game. No lie. His AP scaling ratios are great. It's just his base damage was taken down. And the fact that I started playing Silas jungle post nerf and think it's OP, I really wish I had played it when it was just straight up OP now. Because I'm like, man, I think his jungle clear is good now. It would have been amazing when he hit the 20 base damage before. Man, I should have just played Silas jungle when I wanted to. But I think outside of a time where you're in your last pick for top lane or mid lane, right? And you see, they have 4 amazing ults to steal. Let's pick Silas. We'll trade a weak laning phase for amazing team fighting. I think that's worth it, but you can't just pick Silas anymore. And I think he dominated draft phase. And now that he's out of the picture, there's not many top laners left that haven't been nerfed for you to pick. And usually when you can't pick a champion that just one-shot someone or can straight up fight someone, you gotta pick a tank. We've been seeing Pop in I think we saw Maokai at one point this week as well across the world. So I'm pretty sure we've come to a point where tanks are going to be top lane again. And when tanks are top lane, that means you're going to play 80 carries at scale, like Caitlyn, who's being played right now. Probably someone like Jinx or things like that. And if you get 80 carries like Jinx, it means you get shielding supports. And if you get shielding supports, it means you get wave clear mages.
That was quite the rundown, my friend.
All this being said, this means you don't get playmaker junglers either, which I think is what plays in favor of self-made. And I think the meta fits more with Misfits this patch because Alfari can play anything. He can play tank or carry. He's very versatile. And when you put Hansama on a carry and you have Gorilla being your shielding support,
I'm gonna take that as you're picking Misfits.
Yeah, I'm picking Misfits. I just think the meta change that's going to be coming this weekend totally fits them.
Yeah, fair.
And
like I said, I think all of these games so far are pretty hard to pick.
And by the way, even if that meta change doesn't happen this weekend, I guarantee you it happens. Rift Rivals. Yeah, I guarantee you it happens at Rift Rivals. Like that's just like how when I was reading the notes, I'm like, this is the massive change to pro play right here because they've been trying to change pro play for 2 months and it hasn't really happened.
Cool. Now the big matchup of the week.
Yeah, big matchup. G2 versus Fnatic. So much fun. G2.
Tanner, I think that Sander said you're going first.
Yeah, I mean, these are our top teams, but G2 is just on a level that is above, anybody else. So I think it's definitely G2.
Yep. Like I said earlier, all of these games are hard. This one probably should be harder than it is, but I think it's a pretty easy sweep for the three of us. We're all going to be picking G2.
So G2 posted a meme, right? It showed someone putting white powder on their face, right? And the first line was, yeah, Nemesis could totally take on Caps on a good day, right? And then the next thing you know is he's starting to put yellow, green, and blue polka dots on his face. And the next line was, and Broxa could totally take out Yankos any day as well, right? And then it shows him putting on a party hat. And then it was like, yeah, Perks can't do anything to Reckless. And then the last one, it shows a full clown face on. And he's like, and that's why I think Fnatic will beat G2. G2 basically said you're a clown if you think Fnatic's going to beat G2. And I agree. You are a clown if you think G2's going to lose to Fnatic. So, and then I'm going to look like the clown because I said
I was going to say all of that shit's going to be said and then Fnatic's going to come out and crush G2 and we're all going to feel like assholes.
Nah, straight up, you're a clown if you think Fnatic's going to win. Like, just G2's just...
They're on another level.
I don't even want to say that.
They will. I think that they will drop a game or two though. This split,
you know what's going on? Everyone's playing League of Legends, and G2 is playing Teamfight Tactics.
Jesus Christ!
That's what's happening.
We definitely don't need that analogy.
And it just happened. It just happened.
All right, let's get to day 2.
All right, day 2 is Vitality versus SK. Is anyone bold enough to pick Vitality?
I said my piece on Vitality already.
Yeah, it's SK for sure.
SK. Okay, cool. So next one is Misfits versus Schalke. Bear in mind that at this point, if our picks go correctly, for you guys, Misfits would be 2-3, and Schalke would be 2-3. So at this point, who do you guys think would be hungrier? I'm picking Misfits here just because I think they're the better team, and I am predicting a 2-0 weekend for them, but I think its schedule favors them for that. But for you guys, are both.
I'm also picking Misfits. I just think that overall the roster is better, and I liked what I saw from the jungler that they brought in.
Yeah, and the thing for me is, especially if since I have them beating SK, I think if they do end up beating SK, that momentum that I was talking about just completely, snowballs into something greater, and I think Misfits can definitely benefit from that. So I'll take them as well.
All right, so I think our last 3 are pretty easy here. It's Origin versus Splice, Fnatic versus XL, and G2 versus Rogue. Are we picking against the favorites at all here? Because I'm not.
I'm not.
Yeah, I've got no evidence to suggest otherwise. So.
Yeah, so we got Origin beating Slice as a sweep. We got Fnatic beating XL as a sweep, and we got Rogue beating G2 as a sweep. Gotcha.
On that last one, I'm gonna just assume you misspoke and said Rogue's beating G2.
Rogue's beating G2.
All right, I'll go ahead and put you down for that, but I'm gonna keep mine as G2.
I thought we were all agreeing for the favorite. Obviously, Rogue is the favorite, right?
Yeah, in an alternate universe.
Anyway, let's move on to NA.
Yeah, let's.
I love that response. You're like in an alternate universe. All right, so in NA, NA is actually really fun to watch, guys. I got my wish. I'm very happy that NA is fun to watch. We have 6 teams at 4-2: TSM, Cloud9, CLG, hey, the originals, and then the newcomers to the league: Team Liquid, Golden Guardians, and Optic, all being tied for 4-2 as well. So, yeah, I mean, if we actually look at this, Dr. Pepper, Disney, the Golden State Warriors, I forget who owns Immortals. Damn it. CLG is owned by the Knicks. And Cloud9 is actually still Cloud9. They're like the only team that's not supported by some outside thing because Jack is a friggin' miracle worker.
Well, yeah, because they have like 1,500, championship teams and like all of these different esports, so it makes sense.
So, anyways, and then at the bottom of the barrel is former champion Rick Fox, some airport company, the Houston Rockets, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, FlyQuest, Echo Fox, Clutch Gaming, and 100 Thieves, all sitting at the bottom. Clutch Gaming is actually 3-3. That's not that bad. They're just one game behind. It's so weird. Clutch Gaming is considered 7th, but they're one game behind being tied for 1st.
They've actually looked a lot more impressive than any of us. Definitely any of us thought.
Yeah, and then
going into the split.
And then Echo Fox, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves are 1-5. If you ask me, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but the way we talked about these teams, I think it's surprising that any of these 3 teams are 1-5. Honestly, I feel like they should all at least be 2-4 or better, and that's not the case.
I guess the only one that I would maybe say I don't agree with is Echo Fox. Like, I could the way we talked about Echo Fox, I could totally see them being 1-5.
I mean, we all put them at like 8th place, though, right? I mean, they're 8th right now, but like, if I think of 8th place, like at this point in the season, I think like 2-4, and then 9th or 10th would be 1-5 or 0-6, I guess.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, I don't know. I also don't think it's out of the realm to see an 8th place team at 1-5.
Yeah. Right, because obviously that's how it is right now.
Because like, if you look at EU, that's like that would be an 8th place team over there too, because 2 teams are completely defeated. Is that how you do the opposite of undefeated?
Supposedly, yeah.
Can't win a game.
Yeah.
So, I kind of didn't want to talk about the bottom 4. Because, I mean, I think Clutch Gaming is kind of worth mentioning, but we can talk about them, I think, when we talk about picks. Echo Fox, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves. They're 1-5. I think we need more time for them to see if they can actually make a comeback. Yeah. But for now, they're 3 games behind our top 6, who I really want to talk about here.
Well, I guess real fast before we hop into that, the only thing to really mention is that FlyQuest is a huge surprise right now. Like, I know that they had a really tough week 1. Or I guess they've had a really tough, like, first 3 games, I guess I would say. Oh, hell, they've had a really tough schedule. I'm just, like, looking at it as I'm saying this. They've played C9, TSM, and Team Liquid the first day of each weekend. So that was, like, each week they had one of those. And then they had Golden Guardians, who the first week we thought looked great. Optic, who has been a surprise, and Clutch Gaming, who we just talked about being like better than we thought.
So you're telling me 4 of their 5 losses are tied for first place teams?
I mean, technically, 5 of their 6 losses are against tied for top teams.
They only have 5 losses.
Then. Am I reading one? Oh, they beat TSM. So, yeah, you're right.
Yep. Okay. So, I would agree it's surprising, but, like...
I think that's all that has to be said about them. They've had a tough schedule. I'm not counting them out quite yet.
Not entirely. So...
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so I want to talk about our original 3 kings, first of all. No offense to Tanner. TSM, Cloud9, CLG. This is what NA is supposed to look like, right? TSM, Cloud9, CLG, all on top. I really like this, actually. I like that TSM. I don't like how TSM's winning, but I like that TSM's on top still. Cloud9, in my opinion, even though they're 6-4-2 teams, they're still the best team in NA at the moment. Despite the fact TSM won, I know that happened. I do know.
Right, that's right. You know. If you didn't know, I'd tell you.
I watched that game. That was actually a really fun game to watch.
It was a good game.
CLG, I think, is taking a lot of people by surprise, including myself. I think 6A and Biofrost rounding back to form is nice. Power of Evil has just stayed Power of Evil, just a consistent presence, and I think that's all you need in the mid lane. Not the mid laner they had before with Huhi. I really enjoyed Huhi, but he typically always lost lane. He was a guy who impacted team fights. Whereas like Power of Evil doesn't like lose lane. Even if he doesn't win it, he doesn't lose it, which is nice. And then you have a top laner who's not inting, which is Ruin, right? And then Wiggly has improved. There's a lot to like about this CLG team. I kind of want to see what they can do. I really want to see if they can push the limit and keep going farther, because I think it's very believable. If Biofrost and 6-Day stay on their game, Power of Evil remains Power of Evil, and Ruin and Wiggly are just fine. I don't see a reason why 6-A and Biofrost can't take the league by storm again, like they did a couple years ago, and I can't see a reason why Power of Evil can't be Power of Evil again. So I think of all 6 of these teams, CLG is like the biggest wild card, because I feel like they could go really high, but I also feel like they could go really low.
Yeah, I agree. This they've definitely been a surprise to me as well. Everything that you mentioned, I agree with. I think that a lot of it has to do with either the meta being in the state that it's in and allowing them to do what they're doing, or the fact that they have finally made the decision to say F it to the meta and play things that they're good at. Like, I think that the reason why 6A and Biofrost look as good as, like, have reverted back to when they were playing really well is because 6A is getting to play champions like Caitlyn and those traditional AD carries, and Power of Evil isn't playing stuff outside of his comfort zone, because I mean he's playing some interesting stuff that like other teams are kind of playing as well, but like he's playing a Victor, and he's playing I think he's played Orianna. Like, these are champions that like he's known for. And then it's looking like a really good decision to have Ruin that pickup. I know I was skeptical about it because, like, I didn't know if he was going to be able to continue the success that he was having in the region that he came from, because we had seen him fail in EU before, and then he was playing really well for what wildcard region was he in?
Ruin? He was in I think he was on the Fenerbahce team as well.
Yeah. So but like he looked really good on that Fenerbahce team. I didn't know if it was going to translate coming over to NA. But it has so far. He's looked really good, and like you said, Wiggly has improved to this point. He's looked really good as well. So I'm excited to see what this team can do. I hope that they can keep it up, because if they do, I think that they could be, in a top 4 position, top 3 position, maybe. Like, but I think we're gonna have to see how they do against some of the big boys, because as of right now, they have played TSM, who they haven't beaten for 1,000 days, and that's it. Like, I guess they beat TL, so never mind. That was a surprise. Like, nobody expected that. And honestly, next time they play TL, I don't know if I foresee the outcome going in CLG's favor.
Yeah, and that's fair. But however, I'm looking at that loss for Team Liquid against CLG as kind of an indicator that CLG may be something bigger when it comes to this pack of, when you you remove C9, TL, TSM, remove them from the equation. Who's number 4? I think it's got to be CLG at this point. I think this last week as well kind of cemented them as, a threat to be looked at. Like it kind of looked like they were still finding their footing the first week or two, but even while finding their footing, they were able to beat Team Liquid and kind of, just establish themselves as a threat. And now that they've taken another 2 a week, it's kind of starting to look like CLG might, be the dominant force that we kind of expect out of CLG, which I'm pretty surprised with, but also, like you said, I'm pretty happy with. So out of that kind of, mid-range area for those teams, I definitely think CLG's our top squad because of that. Going down the other rest of the line, Optic, Clutch, Golden Guardians. I'm pleasantly surprised by Clutch. I don't know what they're really thinking outside of, I think Huni definitely needs a replacement, but he didn't look like an absolute monkey this week, which is nice to say the least. And they definitely allowed DeMonte to rev up and take the game that they did end up winning, even though it was against 100 Thieves. But
you mean the dumpster fire that is 100 Thieves.
Right, and we don't even have to touch on that this week because holy cow. But for the rest of them, I think Optic kind of crashed down to earth a little bit, and not crash too hard. I think crash is probably a bit strong of a word, but they had a tough weekend. They showed that they're not actually a top 3 team, which is fine. I don't think anybody really thought they would be. But I think they still have a chance to make a lot of noise. Meteos is still playing out of his goddamn mind, so I fully expect them to be fine. Golden Guardians is an interesting case for me because they lose games that they really shouldn't. And then they win games that, nobody really expects them to. So it's an odd kind of mix. And because of that inconsistency, I just don't see them as high as... I'm not as high on them as I am on CLG, maybe, just because of that. But I think overall, and we touched on this earlier, but, all of these games, for the most part, were really entertaining to watch. There were a lot of back and forth contests. Both teams looked like they actually had a grasp of what they were doing, and it wasn't like, this absolute, clown fiesta every single game, and then, oh, hey, look, finally, TSM's playing, or, oh, look, finally, Team Liquid's playing. We get to watch a good game now. This time it's actually been...
Or a good game from one of the teams.
Right. We're actually seeing consistently, entertaining and good League of Legends that isn't, being undermined by... somebody's horrible decision to do whatever the fact. I mean, we had a couple of games here and there, e.g., GGS versus 100 Thieves, but, I'm really happy with this. But, yeah, overall, I think CLG is definitely, the team to watch out of all of these newcomers, quote-unquote.
So, I would like to say one thing on Golden Guardians and Optic. I'm not really going to say much on Team Liquid. I've spoke my piece about Team Liquid last week. Still think the same thing. They're a team I'm not worried about. I expect them to take first place. I expect them to actually go for the 4th time in a row. That's not discrediting Cloud9 or TSM at all. I think TSM and Cloud9 are going to be very competitive. And I do think TSM and Cloud9 are our teams that make Worlds, so far at least. And despite the fact that I think Team Liquid wins the 4th time in a row, Team Liquid and Cloud9, TSM and Cloud9 are going to fucking come rolling at Worlds. I really think they're going to bring something and make NA proud. Despite that, though, Optic and Guardians, who are tied with those...
You're doing it wrong, Sanders. You haven't learned. Don't get your hopes up about Worlds.
You know what? Here's the thing, though, is before it was just Team Liquid stomping everyone or TSM stomping everyone, and then Cloud9 came in and saved the day, right? Now... it's not really Team Liquid stomping everyone and TSM stomping everyone, which is a nice change. A very, very nice change. Golden Guardians and Optic, though, I'm pretty optimistic about Optic. I really enjoyed both their losses. I honestly felt like Cloud9 versus Optic and Team Liquid versus Optic felt like playoff games. They were very entertaining. They were very back and forth. There was a point where I thought Optic could beat Cloud9, and there was a point where I thought Optic could beat Team Liquid. There was never a time where I thought it was guaranteed for Liquid or guaranteed for Optic, and that's a really good feeling to have. Team Liquid and Cloud9 pulled them out both times, but it's not like Optic dropped dead after getting 4 easy games the first 2 weeks. They definitely showed off, hey, we can keep up with you. You may have beaten us, but we can keep up with you. So the next time they play them, it's not a definite Team Liquid's going to win for me or a definite Cloud9's going to win for me. I think it's definite we should consider Optic. Will I pick Optic? I don't know, because I didn't pick Optic. I didn't pick Optic either time this week, right? Like I picked Team Liquid and Cloud9. But I think it's something to heavily consider now. I really liked the way they looked. As for Golden Guardians, their number 1 strategy just got nerfed again, which was Tom Kench. I wanted to bring this up. So we thought Tom Quench would be obliterated. He might be obliterated now because they did more to his Devour. So there was actually a bug where if you casted Q and W at the same time, it didn't cost anything. So it was free. So you could just Q W and then launch it at your opponent for poke, right? Free poke.
Jesus.
That bug has been fixed. It now costs both abilities mana. The second thing is that allies can no longer release themselves from Devour early while Tom Kench is affected by CC. So if Tom Kench devours someone and they immediately CC him, you're staying in there.
Oh, that's huge.
That's real big.
Oh, and also the spit range was changed from 450 to 250, meaning the distance he spits you out is even less.
Wow, Tom Kench players are fucking pissed.
And here's the other thing too. His damage used to be 100 to 240 in base. It's now 60 to 240, which means he has no early game presence.
Oh, jeez. Because I was going to say, like, at least you could probably still play him top lane if you wanted, but now that kind of fits that.
So if this doesn't gut it, I don't know what will. So, yeah, I thought they gutted him last time. I'm pretty sure this is a gut this time. They gutted him. So, I pray for Golden Guardians that they find another strategy instead of playing something.
Ooh, that's rough. Yeah,
that's all I got to say about that one.
Yeah.
I'm
go ahead.
Ready for picks, unless you guys got something else.
The only thing I was going to mention on my weekly TSM update is I think that we see Greg going forward as the jungler. That's all I was going to say.
Oh yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, because he played both games this week, and he has looked really good. Like even better than Acadian, which Acadian looked like. I loved Acadian last split with TSM. I thought he did an amazing job. I hope that they keep him around, and I hope that he is willing to stay because I think that he is still an asset. But Greg has come in and played really, really well. I don't know if, like, just like you said, a little bit of the meta change where your rundown earlier, like some tankier champions are getting played. If that's just that fits Greg's playstyle better, and that's what's going on, or what it is. But yeah, he's looked really good in the games that he's played, and I think that we're gonna see him going forward. Maybe here and there we'll see Acadian, but like, I guess if you want to equate it to like the NBA, maybe Greg will take a rest day. But like, I don't know if it'll necessarily be a like we're putting Acadian in because of anything other than to kind of give Greg a break.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think you could almost equate it to like a Blabber Sven kind of thing that may occur with TSM here, because I agree with you. If I'm the coach of TSM, I really liked what I saw from Greg, not only this week, but every time that he's played so far. He's had a pretty good impact on the games. So
pretty sure the only 2 losses that TSM have is unfortunately the games that Acadian played.
Right, and that may not be
Greg has
completely
went
his fault.
undefeated.
Right, and that may not be completely Acadian's fault,
Right.
But obviously that's not a good-looking stat. But I mean, as long as Acadian is willing to do that, I think, you know, he would definitely be good in that kind of role as a, you know, pick him when we need him kind of jungler. Yeah, but and then also outside of TSM, I think one thing I wanted to do was in my ever long quest to find a squad for Demonte, I want to add somebody else to that squad. Solo, absolutely.
I want to see those two on the same team again.
Absolutely. Solo had an amazing weekend, and he has nothing to show for it. He played absolutely great, and you could see the visible frustration in the cams, like, during his game, because he was playing out of his mind, and then here comes Rush, like, you know, and missing Sejuani ults left and right, and I can understand the frustration that's coming from Solo here, because he's playing amazing.
It's like Tanner in his silver games.
Dude, like, I that's fair. But, like, he just looks stuck, and you could tell that it's starting to boil over a little bit for him. Like, so far right now, the dream squad of players that are playing better than their team. We've got Solo in the top lane, we've got Demonte in the mid, and we got Bang in AD carry. We need other places to fill in other people, but that's where I'm at right now, because Solo was phenomenal this week, and he just didn't have anything
Dardoch on the academy team?
Playing better than his academy team, so...
That's fair. Yeah, okay, throw Dardoch there. But yeah, it was... God, poor Solo.
So far, we're also following the import rule with our.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah. In fact, we still have room for one, so Bang can have a partner in the bot
go
lane.
grab Wadid. There you go. Game's over. But fuck, man, like, I felt really bad for Solo this week because, again, you know, but at the other end, I think it's just something nice about the talent in North America, because even though these are their bottom teams, you still have highlights. You still have players that people are going to come and watch these games for. Like, I will tune into an Echo Fox game literally to just watch Solo pop off. Like, I will tune in to 100 Thieves just to pray that Bang, you know, is able to do something. Like, I think it says a lot about NA as a whole, and I'm really happy about the state of the game, because obviously not every team can be a top team. But, like, even in major sports leagues, you know, you have bad teams with great star players, you know. Like, you got your Mike Trouts and your Goldschmidts and all these other things that, you know, people will tune into these teams that are subpar to watch, you know, these great players. So I'm excited to see that is a you know, kind of the headspace that the North American region is at. So that's all I want to say about that. F for Solo.
And speaking of NA having talent, Blabber did play this week, and he did win the game, and he looked pretty good. So Cloud9 still pulling off their multiple.
Granted, that was like a strategy that apparently, like, he came in to specifically play the strategy that they played, because that's something that the Academy team has apparently been wrecking Academy with. So, like, he came in because he was the most familiar with that strategy.
Yeah, he played AP Gragas.
Yeah, the Yasuo Gragas combo.
Which, I mean, that just says again how good Reaper is, honestly. Like, you know, just making that call and having him play over Sven, just because, like, that suits him so much better. Like, I mean, the man's a genius. What can we say?
Yep. So, let's get on to our picks. I think this week's actually very hard for NA, because the first one we got is Team Liquid versus Golden Guardians. Now, I'm pretty sure we're all taking Team Liquid here, but it's not a for sure thing here. Like, I think kind of like when I was looking at Optic versus Team Liquid last week, I was like, not a for sure thing, but I'm going to pick Team Liquid because, well, look at their roster, right? Like,
I think that it's a little bit more cut and dry for me. Team Liquid is the easy pick, in my opinion, because you mentioned the meta shift for Golden Guardians.
Well, yeah, better bot lane wins.
Which Golden Guardians has proven they are a fairly one-dimensional team. They're very successful at that one-dimensional play, which is something that, like, is not, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But if you know, nerfs keep happening to that strategy, eventually you can't overcome the numbers.
No, I don't want to completely discredit the improvement of contracts, though, and the fact that Froggen can still play whatever the hell he wants, and he's very respected for it because he's still winning doing it. I think the Tom Kinch thing is huge, but I think another part of it is that contracts A is improved, and B, Froggen can play whatever he wants and still wins playing whatever he wants.
Maybe I'm not giving Froggen enough credit because I still look at him as like a mobile mage champion playing guy.
That is what he is, but he's playing what he wants, right? Like, and it's multiple champions that do it. It's not just Anivia.
Right. On top of that, though, like Golden Guardians should have beaten CLG last week, or like this last weekend. They were ahead for a good portion of that game, and weren't able to close it out. TL, if they get a lead, they do not give it back. Usually, like it's very rare. Once they get the advantage, they'll take it and run with it and end the game quickly with it. And so I have a lot more faith in TL, even though they've dropped some games that we did not expect, like to Echo Fox and who else did they lose to? CLG. But yeah, I think that those were one-offs. I still have a lot more faith in TL.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like, a lot of what TL did last week. They looked a lot more solid. Obviously, each of these games, they did kind of feel like last season's TL, where, they went down a little bit to start the games, and then, as soon as, like you said, an opening was given to them, they just take it and they don't give it back. So, I really liked what I saw out of them, and if they can do that against, an Optic team that looks really great so far this season, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do it against a Golden Guardian squad. So I'll take TL.
I assume that you also went with TL, Sanders?
I did. All right, so the next one is TSM versus Optic. I'm picking TSM here. Am I? Wait, am I?
I am.
Yes, I am. I am picking TSM here, and this has nothing to do with like Optic so much. It more just has to like do with like matchup wise. I genuinely think that Sven and Smoothie matchup with Arrow and Big pretty well. Bjergsen also can play the TF strategy, so they could take that away from Optic, which is pretty nice if you ask me. And Broken Blade versus Dokla. Who are we taking there? Probably Broken Blade. No, Dokla could just play Poppy and then like nothing happens. But we also saw Broken Blade play Poppy as well. So this last weekend, there's a lot that TSM can do to take away strategies from Optic, and that's why I'm picking TSM here.
Yep, TSM for me as well. Bjergsen, I think, has been playing out of his mind in their wins, and Sven has started looking, like I was worried about him a little bit at the beginning of the split. I am becoming less worried about him, and that's because of how he's played the last like 3 or 4 games. Definitely this last weekend, though. Like, he was a big reason why they were able to win both of the games that they won this week. He still is playing, like, kind of late game-ish carries, but I think that the meta has also kind of shifted to that. So, like, if that's going to be the case, he's really good at it, and he's also not playing, like he's playing Sivir and stuff and not Ezreal, which is kind of like outside of the meta right now. Like I would much rather see him playing Sivir. So from what I've seen, I'm gonna pick TSM as well.
Yeah, and I think for me this does kind of boil down to 2 things. Like you said with Bjergsen, I think he's more than enough, to kind of handle Crown and take whatever he's got to throw at him. And then the other part is, I think Grig, if Grig does play, which I assume he will, is good enough to at least keep Meteos at bay. He doesn't have to beat Meteos this game, or like severely out-jungle him, because I wouldn't expect that from anybody at this point against Meteos. But I think he's good enough to at least keep Meteos like on the side and not have him be as big of an impact early, and that way TSM can kind of get their groove going. So I definitely think TSM has the better chance of winning, but Optic could totally surprise us.
Cool. All right, so the next one, Cloud9's beating 100 Thieves. Next, CLG versus FlyQuest. This is so sad. I'm not actually giving FlyQuest a shot here. I'm picking CLG. I think CLG, like I said, is a wild card team, like very high, very low. But CLG looks way better than FlyQuest does. Like, what can I say? I think CLG is going to continue rolling.
Yeah.
Go for it, Tanner.
No, I'm completely on board with that. I think CLG just looks like one of the best mid card teams, and Fly, as good as that roster looks, obviously I'm not going to clown them like we do 100, but it's very surprising that they haven't been performing, even with the tough schedule that they have. But then again, like at the same time, that's 6 out of the 10 teams that they've played against, or 5, I should say. No, wait, 6, yeah. And they've played more than half the teams, and they're still not looking as great. So it's hard for me to gain a lot of confidence that they'll make a comeback. They totally could, but I think CLG just looks way better, especially just right now.
I agree. CLG looks way better. I agree. I should pick CLG.
Oh my god,
you're not going to.
I'm picking FlyQuest.
Right.
This is my bold prediction. Upset pick that I'm going to have this week. Like I said, I have not completely counted out FlyQuest. In order for me to not completely count out FlyQuest, that means that they're going to have to win some games. And this week, I'll spoil my next FlyQuest pick because I think we're all going to be on the same page.
They're going to beat 100 Thieves, you would hope.
I'm picking them to go 2-0 this week. And this could be potentially the turnaround, because we did see them beat TSM and do it in good fashion. So this team can play well. They just have had a very tough schedule, and they have not performed as well in their losses. But I still think Viper has been a bright point for their team. They have a couple of veterans that I'm probably never going to count out, in Pobelter and Wild Turtle. And CLG, as good as they've looked, I still think that they're, beatable. So FlyQuest gets my vote this time.
That's fair.
Cool. All right, so the next is Fox versus Clutch.
I'll go first on this if you want, because I'm pretty stead in my pick here.
Sure, you can go first.
Sure. So I'm gonna pick Fox here because
I'm actually shocked. I had written down CG.
Well, I was expecting CG too. Whoa.
So I like CG a lot so far, especially considering where we had them to start this season. However, if I look at the one matchup that matters for Echo Fox, I do not see a world in which Solo doesn't run a train on Huni. So I think what has to happen here...
What about Demonte running a train through
Okay,
Phoenix?
So that's the thing. So I think Phoenix is a good enough player to not feed. He doesn't have to win his lane. He needs to not feed. And then Solo can take advantage of Huni. The only thing is Huni did a really good job this last weekend of not feeding. I don't know how long he can keep that up, though. Especially if they give him one of his aggressive champions. I see a world where Huni tries to go way too ham and then pays the price, because Solo was just, in his 1v1s and even 1v2s last weekend, he looked fantastic. So they put Solo on a carry, tell everybody else to not feed their fucking lanes, and I think you get a Fox win out of this. That's just kind of my gut feeling about it, and I mean, as much as CG has looked better and Cody Sun looks, decent enough to help CG get a win here, I don't know. Part of me thinks that, especially with how pissed off I saw Solo at the end of their game, I think something kind of fires up Fox here, and I'm going to take him.
I think that's fair analysis. The thing that sucks about Fox is we have no idea who their roster is going to be. They have Apollo or Lost. They could play as the AD carry, and they have Yasui and Phoenix that they could play in the mid lane. Phoenix is the better option to me in the mid lane, so I would hope, I guess, for their sake that they play him over Yasui. But I guess it will kind of depend on whether or not they want to play Lost or Apollo, because it goes back to the import rule. Rush, Phoenix, and Lost are all imports, so the three of them cannot play together. One of them would have to sit out. There is no replacement for Rush, so choose one of the other two if you want to play one of them. And I don't like not knowing the roster going in. I also think that the frustration can go the other way.
Oh, for sure.
From what you mentioned, and Solo could be very unhappy during scrims, could be very unhappy when around his teammates, and if he's anything like me, he is not able to hide that well, so it could be causing some rifts within the team. We could see them absolutely fall apart. I guess because I like DeMonte for Clutch, because I think Cody Sun has played well for Clutch, that's two bright spots compared to the one that I see in Echo Fox with Solo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick Clutch to win the game.
Then that's totally fair. I think Fox winning is a underdog pick for sure, but I've just got a feeling.
Sure. Hey, I just did it with FlyQuest, so... Sanders, what are you showing us?
What am I showing you? Well, let me tell you what I'm showing you. There we go. I'm picking Clutch. I have no idea who to pick for this, and I'm going off a coin. Like, I honestly think Fox could win this. Part of me thinks like Rush is just going to end like he has been. It's so sad. What happened to C9 Rush? C9 Rush was awesome. Hell, freaking Team Impulse Rush was awesome.
Yep.
Team Impulse Rush and Cloud9 Rush were awesome. And then Echo Fox Rush happened.
Sometime I'll tell you the story, but Team Impulse Rush lost me a bet where I had to give a friend a mystery skin.
Huh. That's interesting. I want to hear about that later. All right. So I guess that ends that day. The next is Cloud9 versus CLG. Oh, God. I mean, I said Cloud9 is the best team, so I should pick them to back them up, right? I'm having doubts, though.
C9 has really been that impressive, so I understand it, but I'll let you think about it for a second. I am going to go C9. I think that I think we have a top 3 teams, and I will probably continue to pick that way until a team gives me a really good reason to slide them up there with our top 3.
Completely agree. I think CLG is really like good looking, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if they won this game. But I think you give me like 10 of these games, I think probably 8 out of 10 of them go to C9. So odds are I think they win.
8 out of 10 of them go to C9. So you're saying they could win a best of 3?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That works too. That works too.
Maybe.
Guess technically not. He's not 100% saying that because the 2 games could be in a row.
Yeah, but then you'd still win 3 in a row.
You still win 2-0.
He said
best of 3.
Best of 3.
Never mind. Best of 3.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm
stupid.
You still win 2-0.
Well, yeah, but that's why we don't play best of 3s.
All right, Sanders. You've stalled long enough. What's your pick?
Honestly, I'm gonna go with the team that has the logo blue, and then also start with the C in their name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the next letter is an L.
Really?
Yeah. And then the last part of their name is 9.
Okay, I'll go ahead and put that in the document because it'll never get you.
CL9.
CL9.
It'll never get you a point.
Well, that's not what I was going for. The whole point was CL for Cloud, and then
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
So are you going Cloud9? You're
Yes!
confusing me, Jesus.
Yes, I'm going Cloud9.
All right, fair enough. Next game.
Hey, what
Shit show universe.
Hey, Jamie, what are the first 2 letters of Cloud?
I get what you're saying. It just when you did it slowly, I was.
Yeah, that was kind of the point. The next one's FlyQuest for 100 Thieves. Are any of us picking 100 Thieves here?
No, even with the replacements last week, they still just looked scattered, and Ryu doesn't look like he's doing something. Fake God looked interesting at times, but I wasn't convinced either. It's just...
If I'm absolutely wrong about FlyQuest, I say that 100 Thieves could win, but even then I don't know if it's a certainty, and because of that, I will pick FlyQuest for sure.
100 Thieves can beat Cloud9. We could be so hyped, and then they could lose to FlyQuest, and we wonder what the fuck goes on.
Yeah.
So the next one is Team Liquid versus CG. Are any of us picking CG?
Oh.
Didn't think so. The last one, I'm skipping the next game for a reason, is Optic versus Fox. Are any of us picking Fox?
No.
Nope.
All right.
I don't think so.
Cool. Okay, so this last one can be kind of a debate then. This is actually the 4th game of the day. It's Golden Guardian versus TSM. So initially, as we were doing these picks, I was going to pick Golden Guardians to win. I was going to pick TSM to go 1-1. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm recognizing that I don't like how TSM's winning, but the way they're winning is exactly what's going to fit the meta of patch 9.12. That meta may not start happening immediately, and if it doesn't start happening immediately in NA, that means the quick meta is still going to be around, which means I would give this to Golden Guardians. However, meta's meta, right? Whether you figured it out or not, it's there. Just like OP picks are there. Like Sona Tark's been there for a long time. It's just someone in EU solo queue finally figured it out, got a duo partner, and said, "Hey, you play Tark, be a brain dead person that just gives me minions, and I'm gonna be Sona, get a shit ton of gold, and kill everyone." Right? And then when team fights come, you shield us all. So because I'm Sona and squishy as fuck, right? It just took someone to figure it out, right? I'm sure Sona Carrick has been around for a long time. Like, it's been there, just no one figured it out. And TSM, their playstyle just goes with the meta. So it's there, their playstyle's already there for it. It matches the patch, it matches everything that's going to be efficient for the game and the numbers. So there's just no way for me to not pick TSM. I think their playstyle is just fitting the meta. This does concern me, though, for when we get out of this meta, though, because I want to see them be aggressive and I want to see them win. And so far, this split, it just looks like they haven't been aggressive like they were last split. I really enjoyed them last split, but they've retracted from that, and I hate that.
So it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I'm picking TSM. I don't really have much more to say other than what I've already said on these two teams. I like what I'm seeing from TSM. I will add, though, that I could, like, it's easy for me to see a world where Golden Guardians wins this game. They have proven in the past, even when TSM looked good, that they can beat TSM. They have the talent, and they have the strategy, and they have the ability to do it. I think every time Hanser plays TSM is an extremely motivated game for him to show them what they did. I think Froggen is one of the players that can match up very well against Bjergsen because they've played each other for so long. Like you have said in earlier, contracts looks like to be improving. Although I think Greg has looked more impressive in my opinion, and I expect Greg to play. And then the bot lane, if Deathly plays a Draven type of character that's super early game and Sven isn't able to absorb that pressure and like he's been doing, plays a late game champion, then I could see the bot lane going in favor of Golden Guardians too. But I mean, I'm hoping, and I think all of those things are not like necessarily a given. I think that it's possible, but in my opinion, I guess kind of unlikely. And for that, I think that I'll give the edge to TSM because overall they've looked better.
Man, so this is just kind of going off of a hunch, but I do really want to pick Golden Guardians here because this is the kind of game where they could probably win it. I was saying earlier, they do have this weird tendency to show up pretty well against the top teams and then drop the ball against a game, against the team that they should be beating. So, I like the matchups. I like Bjergsen a lot. That's the only issue that I'm having with this pick. If Bjergsen didn't have the weekend that he did this past weekend, I would probably pick Golden Guardians without as much hesitation. But if Bjergsen plays really well, and I think the other matchups just stay as even as I think they could be, I definitely can see TSM winning. And just saying that out loud, yeah, let's take TSM because I think they are the better team overall. They will be the better team at the end of the year. And I think statistically speaking, TSM should beat Golden Guardians. But if Golden Guardians wins, that's just another case of like the Golden Guardian anomaly that's happening. So I don't know.
All right, cool. So that finishes NA for us, which means we are done with our show.
Real fast before we wrap up, we didn't go over the standings from last week for NA.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that real fast, and then I want to make one shout out. So last week, all three of us went 5-0 first day. Unfortunately, second day did not go as well. So for last week, Sanders went 6-4.
I went 1-4 day 2. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. I went 7-3 because I picked CLG to upset or to beat Golden Guardians. Tanner, you went 6-4 as well, and then the community went 5-5, so even 500. That puts the overall NA standings. Sanders, you're at 15-15, even 500. Tanner, you and I are at 16-14, and then the community is sitting at 14-16. So still very close, making the overalls. Sanders, you and the community are at 29-21, and Tanner, you and I are at 30-20. So we are nobody is pulling away from the pact at this point. But the one shout out that I want to make is to a community member. I know that they are probably always one of the first people to vote, but last week, unfortunately, we only had one person vote, period, for the community picks, and that was Rasmusu. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. But we really appreciate it when you guys participate in the community in general, but especially with this Pick'ems thing, it's something that, I mean, we kind of revolve the show around at this point. And having you guys part of that is something that we really enjoy. So wanted to definitely make a shout out to Rasmusu because he was the only one that voted last week. And we really appreciate you guys taking the time out to do that.
Cool. So that does end the show for LEC and LCS. There's one last announcement I'd like to make. I told this to Jamie earlier. Did not tell this to Tanner, so Tanner might be surprised. So it was just announced today that going into this year's Worlds, China will be the region that has all three of their teams automatically at Worlds, and Korea's third seed is going to replace China's third seed in the play-in. So pool number 1 is going to be NA's third seed, EU's third seed, Korea's third seed, and LMS's 4th seed. So I wish the wildcard teams best of luck to whoever gets the Korean team. Yikes. Because I don't think replacing China with Korea is much better. Like, I honestly still think the number 3 Korean team is probably better than the number 3 Chinese team. That's nothing against, let's say, it was EDG last year. That's nothing against them, but like, it was Invictus and it was Royal, right? Like, those were the 2 teams that everybody talked about from China. No one really gave a fuck about EDG, and shocker, EDG didn't really do anything. I guess Korea didn't really do anything either, but I don't know. I feel like as a wild card team, I'd rather face the 3rd place Chinese team than the 3rd place Korean team, but I guess it is what it is.
Because for all you know, that Korean team, if the history of the LCK has anything to do with it, that could be SKT for all you fucking know.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
Could be Griffin. It could be
it was Samsung Galaxy when they won Worlds that year.
Yeah, they were 3rd. So
yeah, they were the 3rd team. So
yep.
I
guess the Chinese teams need to thank the success of their top teams for allowing this to be the case, because I think China is definitely a more top-heavy region than Korea is. So I'm with you. I think that it's probably actually harder for the minor regions now that Korea is in play-ins instead of China.
China also has 14 teams.
That's a good point.
They also got more players to get through. So this isn't like a shade towards the number 3 Chinese team, but I hope they make some noise this Worlds, because it's always seemed like for Europe and NA, it was like the number 3 seed that always did something. Like Cloud9. Cloud9's always the number 3 seed, and they always do something, right? Misfits was the number 3 seed one year, and they took SKT to like the brink of losing a best of 5 for the first time ever at a world championship. It always seems like the number 3 seed from like other regions, or even usually the one from Korea is actually a disappointment, because it's usually someone like KT Rolster or the Tigers, or someone who's supposed to dominate and they don't. But like, then the number 3 seed of China is like just there, and then they never make it out. They're just like there. So I kind of hope they do something. That'd be a nice change. But then again, that would mean more Chinese dominance, and not what I want to see. I mean, I just saw that. I wanted to see it last year, and I got it last year, right? It was cool. I got a different Worlds winner. Now I got EU as an MSI winner, and frankly, I just need NA to win Worlds.
I think we would all like that.
So, yeah. We're gonna end that with the show. NA is greater than EU. NA is going to win Rift Rivals, and NA is going to win Worlds as well. So
lots of bold predictions.
From Jamie, Selceus, Christensen, and Tanner, Blitzerama, Brelje, I'm Jacob Sminted Sanders, and NA is greater than EU.